everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I am your host, Kimberly Cloud. We are now live, and I wanted to show y'all something. I'll give it a second because I hear my phone blowing up. It's me, you know. So I give it a second for people to come on. Okay. Okay. Well, now that we got that out the way, I wanted to show you guys something. Like I said, I have marks. I got bit by something right there, but I have marks on me. And I have a birthmark. I have a birthmark. Um, and it's so weird. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So it's so weird. So what would you look at if you seen that? Would you say it's a 84? 84. That's my birthmark. 84. I'm like, how do you have a birthmark that says 84? How do you get a birthmark that says 84 and you were born in 84? And then I was thinking about MEPS. I must say MEPS, MEP apostrophe S, or you can say MEP S apostrophe. But I have to tell you about something that was so crazy to me what they did when they were at MEPS. Two things that stood out. I can't remember it all, but two things stood out. So I we had to walk like ducks. I'm like, what does walking like a duck got to do with anything? Because I don't have good knees, but um I sat up there, they was like, go like this and squat down all the way and just walk. Just walk. And I was like, what does this got to do with anything? And then, the doctor with the long white coat was just observing people walking like ducks. And I was like, what is he doing? I didn't even notice until now. I'm thinking back on it. And then the actual listening to devices, they want you to be excellent in hearing. So you had to listen to some noises in a booth. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. But I wanted to show y'all something. Some of y'all just logged on, so I wanted to show y'all what got me talking about this, because today we're going to have a great episode today. Edgar Allan Poe, Interview with the Devil, and the Game of Life and how to beat it, or something like that. So let's get started, but before we do, I want to show y'all something. 84. I had to mirror my camera, but 84, that is my birthmark. I didn't have that tattooed on, tat, 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 tatted. No, this is my birthmark, 84. And I'm like, how are you born in 84 and have a tattoo, not a tattoo, but a birthmark of 84? I was like, you got to be special, really special. And I don't mean that in a good way. I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking with y'all. So let's get started, y'all. Which one are we gonna watch first? Edgar Allan Poe. This is a 14-minute thing. I'll try not to talk every second, but I want to explain Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. This particular film is fire. The author Edgar Allan Poe is fire. The producer of this documentary is even more fire. And this guy that acts as the man in The Raven, I forgot his character, but it goes like this. He's sobbing because his mother, not his mother, sorry about that. That's a Sigmund Freud slip. I was crying yesterday about that song, you guys. Remember me this way. But so the man in Edgar Allan Poe, he misses his wife. Sort of similarities. You know, he misses his wife. His wife died. I don't know of what. They probably explain it during the 14-minute and 51-second film. But he's sat up there and he's mourning her, and a raven comes in. And shows how powerful, just how powerful. We all seen the Raven on The Simpsons, especially if you're 41 and you've seen the Raven. They remade the Raven on The Simpsons. It was a funny version with Bart and Homer. But this is they painted a picture in 14 minutes and 51 seconds of this guy mourning, angry, sobbing, confused, and more, so much more. Let's watch it. It intrigues me. It intrigues me because they don't talk like us. They talk like in a past. They talk in a past dialogue, and the way they talk back in the day sounded like, you know, this is a poem. This is like a poem or a rhyming type poem. Um, but people understood it for that time, 1930 something, I believe. When did The Raven come out? When did The Raven come out? 1845, January 25th. So this is showing you all angles. This is what makes this so powerful. This is showing you all angles. Like, he hears the knock. We hear the knock. It's playing mental games with you. We hear the knock. You know, back in the day they had to imagine, but we hear the knock. We just heard, well, I heard it. Y'all heard it. You know, maybe y'all don't hear it, but we hear the knock. Something knocked at the door, and he's questioning or second guessing himself. So that is Lenore, and nameless here. I guess I can interpret that it's in this world. She's nameless. She's 6 feet under. That's what I interpret from nameless. Forevermore, which means she's forever nameless on earth forevermore. She was once the angel's name Lenore, nameless here in our frequency. I don't call it the real word. I call it our frequency forevermore. Ever. Which is too far fetched because her spirit never dies. But during this time, you know, this is Edgar Allan Poe. He was actually in the military. I think he went to he lived in Santa Maria. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Let me look. I think Edgar Allan Poe lived in Santa Maria. Hold on. Did Edgar Allan Poe live in Santa Maria or New York? As a boy. Richmond, Richmond, Virginia. Okay. From Smithsonian Magazine. They had some artifacts of Edgar Allan Poe in Santa Maria. And I know Pennsylvania had a lot of Albert Einstein. And here we got Martin Luther King. Um, yeah. Now it's setting a scene. What do you see right there? Hold on. Are y'all online? Okay. Okay. I know y'all online, but what I meant to say was, are y'all online with me? Um, so you see that we see alcohol. So it's kind of like turning around. The camera angle is kind of like turning around, showing you the alcohol, you know. Now you go into, is he hallucinating because of this alcohol, you know? But we're looking into what his story was and how he felt that the story went. Now, back in the day, they say, if somebody talking to you that calm, is someone at my chamber door, I'm not going to sit up there and say it's someone at my door. I'm going to be like, who the hell is it? Why are you at my chamber door? Just don't talk that calm, talking about, is he at the chamber door? But he's questioning himself. He's questioning himself, and he don't want to yell. He don't want to get too upset because he knows he could possibly be imagining this. Okay, another knock he hears. So maybe he's telling the truth. He said, you know, he got a little aggressive, he started fearing that whatever it is that's knocking is trying to, it may have been in his head, he said darkness and nothing more. He's second guessing himself still. He still don't have the energy that you'll see later on in the film, but he was, it's darkness. And so, if the police were called, you would say there's nothing more. So it clicked in his head. He's thinking this knocking that he sees, or that he hears, sorry, the knocking that he hears, he he knows it, maybe because the last thing he did was look at her picture. He's looking at her picture, depressed, and then he heard knocks, and he's trying to call out to his dead wife that is nameless forevermore. So he says Lenore, and he sees a spirit that says Lenore back. Now, is that believable? They say before you die, when you're very old and elderly, like a week, if you're like on bedridden or about to die, you start to see people in your past. What if we worked on different frequencies where when our spirit goes out of our bodies, it tunes in, and maybe it don't go to that heaven in Russia. Maybe it do. Who knows what Russia is doing? But maybe it tunes in to a frequency we can't see. You know, there could be life around us, and it's true. Life could be around us right now, but since their bodies are on a different frequency, you know, we can't see them. So there could be other life doing something right now around us. And because frequencies are true, they got different frequencies for different things. So he saw with his own eyes Lenore in the spirit form. And I think as you go as we go into the 1800s, the 1700s, 1600s, 1500s, 1400s, a lot of supernatural things happen. A lot of things that, were unexplainable that don't get talked about. Was witchcraft real? We still have witchcraft, you know. Yeah. I mean, to kill a witch, to actually wrap her head, her neck, and then strangle her and then burn her, is saying that somebody knew that something in spirits were contagious, but the people watching the death could get affected by that as well. When people die in front of you, you can get affected by that as well. So did he, we go into question, did he really see Lenore? It could be he, you know, is having paranoid delusions. But then we get into a spiritual sense, a religion sense, um, spiritually, when Jesus rose on the third day, a couple of people said they seen him. Supernatural, the more we go down by 1,000 years and 2,000 years and 3,000 years, miracles were happening. People weren't making this up. People were seeking new identities and things. So now we got the culprit, supposedly. But if you can't hear it, sorry, my apologies. But if you heard it from his perspective, he heard different knocks on the door. So now he's not only hearing different knocks, he sees a spirit. So is this all aligning with maybe psychosis? I don't know. I want to joke so bad. Oh, but then people get mad. So this raven bum rushed him and he sat up there and flew to the ground. Like ravens don't do that. Y'all remember that old movie, The Birds? One day, if we don't monitor our birds, that could happen. You got to be a bad person to sit up there and be able, these birds are bad, not bad in a bad way, but bad in a good way. Every time you think you're getting close to grab a bird will fly. The bird has very precise precision. They can zoom in, zoom out, they're very precise. And I respect birds to the fullest. They know what they're doing. Two of them was cussing out this man that was feeding them. They kept saying, "Rawr, rawr." I'm like, wow, I never had that done to me, you know. So yeah, they're good people, man. They're very good people. Not people, but birds. And they're highly respected by the government. So don't think I'm just crazy, you know. What about a bald eagle, nevermore, gets you intrigued to want to put it on a dollar bill? Is it on a dollar bill? Yeah, it's on a dollar bill, I think. An owl is too, but a raven, they go into dialogue back and forth, and some people have seen some supernatural stuff that they can't explain. And Edgar Allan Poe, he died. I think they either killed him or something happened to him. He got broke. I think his wife was sick. I watched this about him. I don't have the time to he was suffering from depression. I want to watch this about him, but it's okay. Um a movie, a video, a documentary, and a book well done. Now, he asks them basically, who is this? Are you a lord? Who are you? I demand to know. Coming into my house doing, cast upon thee or whatever he was saying in my house. I want to know, who are you? And the only thing, the thing that intrigues me about this book is each time he says nevermore. He says nevermore in a different way. He does. That's like me saying yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's three different ways you can say it or more, even more. But the raven is trying to communicate with him by saying nevermore. That's the only thing he can say or she can say. And he wants more dialogue. He wants more reassurance of who this person is. We don't know whether it's evil or good. He's above his chamber door. He's shocked. Those are the perfect words. I couldn't have put it any better. Edgar Allan Poe couldn't have put it any better. Spoke only that word as if it's soul. In that word, he did outpour. He outpoured his soul into those words. Nevermore. Then the bird said, nevermore. Those nevermore, like, what did his interpretation of nevermore mean? Think about it. Never is to not have something happen. More is more. It's things being created. Something of more, something extended, more, an extension of something. Never. Like, think about it. Those words are powerful. How can you fit them together? Or you can say never more, never have more, never be more, never more than what he has to say, never more than what he has to say. That, and so the bird said nevermore. He's partially um this part I can't translate. Sorry. I think melancholy means heartache or something negative. I think he confessed to him something. He confessed something to him. And he mentioned a daughter. And so he confessed to the bird, and the bird, um, let's see. He think that the bird is ominous, like Satan or something. You know how life, all those artists out there, how life paints a picture for you. And when you pick up a book, it's like picking up a book to translate something. You're translating what you see. Like I can look outside and I could paint a blue sky, you know, trees and a building. You're translating what you see. I am so blessed that I have never had a time where I didn't see something that wasn't real. I don't know about him, but he's drawing. He's let's root for this guy because now he's drawing the evidence. The guy from the Raven. He is drawing the evidence of this bird that just won't leave. The bird is squatting, squatters, whatever you call it. That's Lenore, and he drew this beautiful picture with the bird right over her. Now, see how it's fluctuating? I swear. People with drifting, we're going to go to Interview with the Devil because he sure enough is drifting. Because now he's saying that the Raven is an angel. First he said he was ominous. Now he's saying he's an angel, that he had sent me. He drew the picture of Lenore with the bird like right there. Those are the best pictures. Let's go back. Oh man, hold on, y'all. I call it I call it spirit to spirit. Spirit to spirit pictures. This was during the writing times and not typing. They painted a picture of Lenore. They a spirit stood there and in their image made this picture of Lenore. A spirit to spirit. We have it with the cameras and everything. Yeah, things has gotten more but it's nothing like having that spirit to spirit contact because somebody is looking at you, and whether they like you or not, they put their heart and soul into that picture. They got to paint you. They know shapes, geometry, how to make the picture look just like you. That takes talent. Now he's mad again. So he done changed his tone. So this is a great actor. I'm surprised I don't see him in Hollywood's Files, but he done changed his tone like 4 different times. He started off hopeless. He called Lenore. Lenore came. The bird came, sitting up under the bust of his chamber door, and now he's angry with the bird now because there's no communication. The only thing the bird can say is nevermore. Now I don't know if he's interpreting it nevermore as something that he can understand, like me and you talking. Like I really like that. That's a straight word, sentence. I really like that. But nevermore can be nevermore. Forget you, nevermore. Like it can be used in so many ways too. But he could be interpreting nevermore like and actually understanding what the bird is saying. But he couldn't be because that's why he's trying to get a reaction out of the bird. Implore, I think that means I strongly ask, request information or something. I know that's right. he get he get a little psycho now. You can tell. Oh my God. He is putting his work into this. Wow. And then the narrator narrating it is just crazy. That's strong. I'm gonna say that. My soul has spoken. That will really get someone's attention. I feel great, but my soul has spoken. He feel like the bird is taunting him. So obviously he don't understand what the bird is saying. He can't communicate, so he thinks the bird is evil. He says, "Leave his loneliness unbroken," because he thinks he has a hunch that he was sent by Lenore. He knows that he saw Lenore before the bird came in. The bird could be Lenore reincarnated. We don't know. But he asked for Lenore and he got a bird. You know what's so scary? What if these artists actually have visions from other planets or dimensions? Or let's just condense it and say the world. What if something like this really happened in the world somewhere and somebody can have a vision of somebody and make a story about it? They can connect their visions. They have a gift. Those people have a gift, you know, to be able to connect what visions they see and put it on paper. And since it doesn't connect to somebody, everybody has a connection. Everybody that ever had a book written about them has a connection with someone on this world or even beyond that. We think in a human world. We I guess we're not ready to see it what an alien world, a real human like alien world would look like. Wow. Let me hear that part again. So basically he didn't drink, but we don't know if he drunk or not, but basically he feels like he's been defeated. He feels defeated. He feel like he saw a miracle. Something in him changed. Something in him changed once the raven said nevermore. And he got on the floor he said, never fletching, still sitting. Oh man, that's crazy. Still sitting, saying nevermore. He felt defeated of a demon that is dreaming. Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. And the lamplight, or it's like a shadow over him. How could that be a shadow over him? Did he die? Okay. So now I watched 52 minutes and 20 seconds with you guys. This um what year did The Raven come out? The Raven was published January 1845. Okay, I just wanted to be sure. This when did Interview with the Devil by Napoleon Hill come out? When did Interview with the Devil by Napoleon Hill came out? Outwitting the Devil was written by 1938. But not published until this came out in 1938. I watched 52 minutes and 20 seconds with you guys, and so I wanted to continue. This is only going to be another 14 minutes, and then we're going to watch The Game of Life, which came out, I believe, in 1925. Wow, that's deep. Women sell men, like drifter and women sell men their own egotism. That's crazy. Is that all that a woman uses when they wish to flatter men? That is the most effective thing they use. It works when sex appeal fails. So I'm to believe that a big, strong, smart man can be wound up and manipulated through flattery, just as they were so much putty. Is that possible? Women learn this over the course of years watching movies and watching whatever y'all watch. I don't know. I don't want to know. But women watch these things throughout the years, other women, either their friends or their family or movies, and they learn how to do this to flatter men. Now, mind you, I nobody knows what Interview of the some people knows what Interview of the Devil is. Interview of the Devil is about Napoleon Hill interviewing the devil. Now, from what he knows, he's dark matter and he seeps into the brains of billions of people through drifting, like smoking cigarettes and, you know, sex and all of that, do drifting. And so I didn't know we stopped at that probably started to bore me about when he started talking about us women, So yeah. But I stopped there, and plus it was 52 minutes and 10 seconds. So that was a long time. But he's talking about basically women flattering men, and yeah, it can happen. I see it, but we are learned to do that. You hear that? Effective devices in life. Failure. The majority of people begin to drift as soon as they meet with opposition, and not one out of 10 thousands will keep on trying after failing 2 or 3 times. Well, you got me fucked up, devil. Failure, you have it right. Failure breaks down one's moral, destroys self confidence, subdues enthusiasm, dulls imaginations, and drives away definitiveness of purpose. Without these qualities, no one can permanently succeed in any undertaking. The world has produced thousands of inventors with abilities superior to that of the late Thomas Edison, but these men never been heard of, while the name Edison will go on marching because Edison converted failure into a stepping stone to achievement, while others use it as an alibi for not producing results. Let me rerun that one because that kind of twisted my brain a little bit. These men have never been heard of, while the name Edison will go on marching on because Edison converted failure into a stepping stone to achievement, while the others used it as an alibi for not producing results. Now, that is true. I've been in the ghetto. I lived in the ghetto. I've been around murderers. I've been around bad people. I put it to you like that. I didn't ask to be around that. Once I had a way to break free, I broke free. But it was like being in a cycle, a historic cycle. And I may blame different people, and I have reason to believe, yes, the government just they watch us who may be potential candidates for the military. Who knows? I was into the delayed entry program, but you know I produce results. I sit up there. No one can stop my school from happening. No one can stop my car note from getting paid. No one can stop my house from getting cleaned up except Kimberly. Now that I have an outlet, I, I'll say it like it is, but I produce results. Stuff out of my control. Me writing my book, that was out of my control. I can't control what the editor got paid to do to me through spite or hate during the time I was talking about Trump. I can't control that. I can't control my name not being up on a poster board like Oprah Winfrey. They stopped calling me. I cannot control PA Live hanging up on me. And look at that word he says, alibi. Who talks about alibis? The devil was given a hint that this would be within government or some form of government. Alibi meaning, people have alibis to, people have alibis for stuff, that, and they use that word, I think, pretty frequent in the court. I want y'all to hear this out of y'all small little ears, your eardrumettes. Every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. The seed of an equivalent success. Hold up, let's rewind it and I'll say it. But the seed will not germinate and grow under the influence of the drifter. It springs to life only when it's in the hands of the one who recognizes that most failures are only a temporary defeat and who never, under any circumstances, accepts defeat as an excuse for drifting. Wow. Okay. Failure is only virtue when it doesn't lead one to quit trying and begin drifting. Failure is a virtue, is a problem. Hold on. Yeah. Failure is more high moral standards. Failure is a virtue, which is high moral standards, only when it does not lead to one is a high moral standard. So failure is a high moral standard, only when it does not lead one to quit trying and begin drifting. I induce many people as I can to fail as often as possible for the reason that not one out of 10,000 will keep on trying after failing 2 or 3 times. Is that true, y'all? Is that true? How many of y'all have failed after 2 or 3 tries? Something. Some people get lucky, but I'm talking about those people who are drifters out there who go back to doing heroin, cocaine, fentanyl, or stop imagining inventions because they talked about it for so long and they gave up on it. You know, I remember when my mouth was messed up. I never used to smile. And I went to a dentist and I said, I want implants. And he said they cost thousands of dollars. I don't think you would get them. And now I have them. This was 2007 or 8. No, it was after, maybe 2012. I, I'm not really sure of the date, but I remember the scenario. When you use your imagination about things, I manifested it. I knew that one day, but I wasn't applying myself. I was getting all this money and wasn't applying myself from school. And had I known had I, if we can do this race one more time, that's why they cheat and make us forget when we become alive, though our soul never quite is dead. Because if I can do this shit again, I would have got my mother out of there a long time ago. I am not concerned about the few who convert, make turn failures into stepping stones because they belong to my opposition anyway. They are non-drifters. And there, if you look at the government in this sense with the Democrats and Republicans, non-drifting, and therefore they are beyond my reach. Your explanation clears up the matter. Now go ahead and tell me how some of your other tricks with which you allure people into drifting. Now, this applies to you guys, some of you guys out there. Allure, entice, coerce, make it look glamorous. I can't wait to see what the devil says. Propaganda. This instrument is the greatest value to me in setting people to murdering one another under the guise of war. Huh. Wow. Wow. What does guise mean? It sounds like a disguise. Basically, he's saying disguise of war. The cleverness of this trick consists of many subtlety with which I use it. I mix propaganda with the news of the world. I have taught it in public and private schools. I see that it finds its way into the pulpit, people. I color moving pictures with it. I see that it never enters every home where there's a radio, that it enters every home where there's a radio. This came out when 1925. Let's make sure. When did this come out? Oh, sorry. When did this come out? 1938, I mean. 1938 or 37. Now, in the beginning, what he tells Napoleon is he has a lot of friends that are mad with him for putting out how to get away with being a drifter. Trying not to be a drifter, ways to try to get out of being a drifter. He said no one would listen to his book, and he had friends from different places, and a lot of them didn't like Napoleon Hill, and he threatened him right as he was interviewing him. I was just talking about billboards. I haven't seen this. Wow. So I injected into billboard, newspaper, and radio advertisement. I spread it in every place of business where people work. I use it to fill the divorce courts, and I make it to serve and destroy business and industry. It is my chief instrument for starting runs on banks. My propagandists cover the world so thoroughly that I can start epidemics of disease. Well, who can start epidemics of disease? Oh, goddamn. Turn loose the dogs of war or throw business into panic at will. If you can do all of that claim with your propaganda, he's asking the devil. It is little wonder that we have wars and business depressions. Give me a simple description of what you mean by by the term propaganda. Just what is it and how does it work? I wish to know particularly how you cause people to drift through the use of this devilish device. Propaganda is any device, plan, or method by which people can be influenced without knowing that they are being influenced or the source of the influence. I've been telling y'all people this shit. Like, y'all don't know how y'all can be influenced without knowing that you're being influenced or the source of the influence. Propaganda is used in businesses for the purpose of discouraging competition. Employers use it to gain advantage over their employees. Hold on, how do they do that? Oh, okay. The employees retaliate by using it to gain advantage over their employers. That's true. In fact, it is so universally and thorough, such a smooth and beautiful streamlined technique that it looks harmless even when it's detected. I suppose some of your boards are now engaged in preparing the minds of American people to drift into some form of dictatorship. Tell me how they work. Yes, millions of boys are preparing Americans to become Hitlerized. My best boys are working through politics and labor organization. We tend to take over the country by ballots instead of bullets. Americans are sensitive. They would never stand the shock of seeing their form of government change with the aid of machine guns and tank cars. Wow, that is deep. Trump is not Hitler, number one. We all know that shit. Um, but every time there is something going on with a Republican is always getting shot or killed. And they always manage to get away with it. I say death for death, ballots. Now, this was in 1938. We're in 2025. So our propaganda boys are serving them a diet they will swallow. by stirring up strife between employers and employees and turning on the government against business and industry. When propaganda has done its work thoroughly, one of my boys will move in as dictator, and the 9 old men in your Supreme Court, with their silly notions of the Constitution, will move out. Everyone will be given a job or fed from the government treasury. When men's bellies are filled, they drift freely with one who does with the one who does the filling. Hungry men get out from under control. I have often wondered who invented the clever trick which you call propaganda. From what you tell me of its source and nature, I understand why it is so deadly. One Only one as clever as your majesty could have invented such a device with which to turn dull the reason, dethrone the will, and lure men into drifting. Why do you not use your powerful propaganda to gain control of your victims instead of subduing them through fear and annihilating them through warfare? Why do you not use your powerful propaganda to gain control of your victims instead of subduing them through fear and annihilating them through warfare? What is fear of the devil except propaganda? You have not observed my technique very carefully, or you would have seen that I am the world's greatest propagandist. I never attain an end by direct, open means, which I can achieve through subterfuge and subtlety. What do you subtlety? I always use the word subtly. What do you suppose I'm using when I plant negative ideas into the minds of men and gain control of them through what they believe to be their own ideas? What would you call that except for the cleverest of all forms of propaganda? He said in the beginning that he plants ideas into drifters. Surely you're not going to tell me that you destroy people through their own help without their realizing what you are doing. That is exactly what I wish you to understand. Moreover, I will show you exactly how the trick is performed. Magic, magic. Now we are getting somewhere. Exactly how do you convert human beings into propagandists and lure them into self-imprisonment? Give me the story with all its lurid details or explicit. This is most important part of your confession, and I am consumed with eagerness to gain control of your secret. I can hardly blame you for stalling about answering my question because you know so well that your answer will snatch millions of innocent victims from your control. You also know that your answer is will protect other countless millions of yet unborn people from being victimized by you. It is little wonder you are hedging about answering. What the hell? Oh my God, it said it. Oh my God, where is my charger? That is so weird. Hold on, y'all. I want to know what he has to say. I gotta charge my. I found it because my phone about to go dead. Okay. I make my first entry into an individual's minds by bribing him. How many times have people been bribed? What do you use as a bribe? I use many things, all of them pleasant things. The individual covets. I use the same sort of bribes that individuals use when they bribe one another. That is, I use for bribes the things that people want. The best bribes are love, thirst for sex expression, covetousness for money, the obsessive desire to gain something from nothing gambling, the obsessive desire to gain something for nothing gambling, vanity in women, egotism in men, desire to be with desire to be the master of others. So covetousness for money means an excessive desire to have more than one needs or deserves, particularly material wealth or the possessions of others. So money, like I said, you can't sit a dollar bill. If you think I'm lying, then take a $20 bill, put a tack in it in the grass right next to the sidewalk, and see how many people find that money and take it. Desire for intoxicants and narcotics, desire for self-expression through words and deeds, desire to imitate others, desire for perpetuation of life after death, desire to be a hero or a heroine, desire for physical food. Okay, this is the last question that I'm gonna allow, and then we're gonna go to the Game of Thrones. I mean, the Game of Life. Sorry. Now, how can the devil get to a child? How can the devil get to a child? Think about it. The first thing we sit a child in front of is the television. And a lot of parents have really bad habits of not caring what their children are watching. I even did it. Or you're driving down the street and you wonder why your child, whether white or black, turned into a murderer. You're it it starts with negative thinking. You heard him say that he can get into you through negative thinking. He can implant negative thoughts. A transaction for a transaction. I mean, I'm gonna tell y'all, I talk a lot about these stars, but for some reason I can't seem to leave them alone. He just says he occupies much as that person's mind as I can master. Music got a lot a part of my mind. It's helped and it's done hurt. If the individual's greatest weakness is the desire for money, I begin to dangle coins before him, figuratively speaking. I intensify his desire and induce him to go after money. Basically, you see what he's saying? How it's glorification, how they glorify all their fancy everything. That's like dangling coins. and you induce people to want to come to Hollywood or go places so that they can make a living doing things or make more money. Then when it gets near, I snatch it away from him. And how do you do that? Well, then we come to the realization that we have bills. We have money, and then we have bills. This is an old trick of mine. After the trick has been repeated a few times, the poor fellow gives in and quits. Then I take over a little more space in his mind to fill it with fear of poverty. That is one of my best mind fillers. Okay. Yes, I admit this is the last. This is the last one. Yes, I admit your method is very clever, but what happens if the victim fools you and get his hands on a lot of money? You don't fill his mind with fear of poverty, do you? No, I don't. I take over the space by filling it with something that serves my purpose just as well. If the victim converts his desire for money into large sums, I start feeding him with things he can buy with it. For example, I cause him to stuff himself with rich foods. You know the rich don't shop at Walmart. We know the rich don't shop at Walmart. Probably churches and stuff, of that nature. I'm not saying that in a bad way, rich people. I'm just saying that you don't see Buckingham Palace saying, go get me a whole bunch of oranges from Walmart. No, they have their oranges imported from probably Hawaii or something. I don't know. I don't know. What I do know is they don't eat our food. I wonder what's in their food. Is it good stuff? Is it AI? What's in it? What's in it? I want to know. This slows down his thinking capacity, endangers his hearts, and start him on the road to drifting. Then I pester him with intestinal poisons through the surplus food he eats. That also slows down his thinking and give him a nasty deposition. Okay. Uh, let's see what they're talking about. Florence Scovel Shinn. Oh my God. You heard what she said? The Old and New Testament gives the rules of the game with wonderful clearness. The rules of the game, you know, I couldn't say it any better. It's the past, present, and future. Whatever men, because it was men that wrote this Bible, was enlightened. They were chosen ones. A great game of giving and receiving, Jesus Christ said. So, giving, when you give, you shall receive. And I try to give to people when I can. I'm gonna figure out a way to take these clothes and give to the Goodwill, some clothes, for those who like my style or whatever. Yeah, give for free without one of those tax write-offs. She said, whatever sends out in word or deed will return to him, by the good word. I try to put out as much as I can. I'm not perfect, but I try, and will return to me. Yeah. Oh God, this is a tricky one. If he gives hate, he will receive hate. Excuse me. Wow. If he gives hate, he will receive hate. I don't hate nobody, but I don't like the way hate has been spreaded around across our country. I don't like it. I kind of like, I do hate it. I hate that this hate has spread it around our country and we can't seem to all think on the same frequency. Everybody, you have to have a certain physique to make it in life. You have special privilege if you have this physique. You have, you know, people just doing crazy stuff, hating, you know, um, I just tell the truth. I don't hate, but I hate that we hate each other as a nation. That's sad. How the hell are y'all going to get to heaven doing that? That is so true, man. Just like I said earlier about, my mouth and everything. Hold on. Keep my heart or imagination with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. That is very deep. What man images will sooner or later externalize in his affairs. What I imagine, sorry y'all, like the wind is blowing, like sorry about that. Anyway, what externalizes will soon be in his affairs. Like for instance, me sitting up there imagining, I said to myself, you know, I want a better life. I know I will get a better life. I know something bigger is for me. And that's what happened. I got what I wanted. I manifested what I wanted. The imagination has been called the scissors of the mind. Well, I can't wait to see what she has to say. Oh, she's saying it different. I heard of the unconscious, subconscious, and conscious, but there's a superconscious. Well, what if there's an artificial conscious? I was just saying, if y'all are still with me, I looked to my right or my left, should I say, and I said, life is like a picture that we paint. Life is like a picture that we paint, and it has what I perceive life. We're all on the same frequency. Some of us is a little off the frequency, some of us is way off the frequency, and some is just off the rocker, and we don't understand how they even were born on this earth. You know, so our perception per se, I'm going too deep. We see a blue sky, we know that the grass is green, we know that the trees are green. We have been taught this. Even in Chinese, the Chinese see the grass is green. I assume the Chinese see the grass is green. They see the sky is blue, but they have a different language. But we all communicate. Wow, Plato. See what I'm saying? Did you read that, y'all? Did y'all read that? I'm gonna write that down. Where's my pen? I'm always losing my pen. Lord Jesus. Okay, here we go. Got it. For there is a divine design. We copy each other, when there's room for everyone, for each person. There is a place where you are to feel, and no one else can feel. Something, something you are to do, which no one else can do. That's true. Something too good to be true. Like, since we have more negative thoughts, we should be able to have more positive thoughts. Point blank, period. We need more brain capacity, not like they have pills that keep you sharp and keep you on your toes, but I'm talking about magical, something magical that can cause enlightenment within your superconscious mind. Not ecstasy, not drugs like that. I'm talking about drugs that changes your mind about, like, you still have your mind, but you're moving to a higher frequency of awareness. Let me write that down. When you move into a higher frequency of awareness, from the infinite intelligence from which is within himself, the infinite intelligence. Like we all are intelligent, but if what are you doing to keep you from being intelligent? Are you reading? Are you writing? Are you listening to podcasts? What are you doing for yourself to educate yourself? There's infinite intelligence out here. That's why instead of computers being my slaves, because that's what they are, you know, I say they are my friends. They don't talk, obviously, and I'm always seeing myself behind the camera, but they are something. They're not somebody. They are something. They are a thing that we created to be smart enough to navigate us ourselves to one day be virtually in someone's house looking at their clothes, or whatever the case, a cup of coffee or whatever. But yeah, she said many people are in ignorance of their true destinies and are striving for things and situations which do not belong to them. Have you ever seen that old couple that was just freaking happy? And you'd be like, what are you so happy for? No, I'm just kidding. You'd be like, no, seriously. You'd be like, wow, they didn't did it for years. They didn't did it for years together, and they're happy. They're content with how much money they make. They can go on trips. They can do whatever they want. That's their destiny. But some people look at people and be like, I want what they have. That's not a true, realistic goal. Like that's not a true, like, whatever I want, I go after. I'm very strategic about what I do. What made me, I still am mad because now Yale is about to close and I haven't called MIT yet, but I'll call them next week. I'll call them next week. Um, but yeah, like I'm hold on, y'all, sorry. Reach your destiny, like a realistic goal is not like another person's goals. You have to be realistic about what you can accomplish and how enlightened you would like your brain to be. Because to be quite honest, I've always said to myself, if I can make a change beyond this world, solar system, galaxy, universe, multiverse, omniverse, where I am universally known to make harmony within the universe, then enlighten me to that point where I can be a change within the universe. So, if I'm worthy of it. So, yeah. Woo! I speak myself into millions. That's what we do. And now how they do it. Think about how they do it now. Think about how they do it now. We sit up there and we say these Hollywood music, they sit up there and they talk about their lives and we can relate to their lives. But then when we relate to their lives, it kind of becomes our life except for the money part. Have you ever noticed that? You can relate to the negative in their lives, but as far as getting money, it just seemed never to manifest. Wow. Intuition is man's unerring guide. I mean, like a GPS. It's some truth in that. So whatever you desire can be through whatever you want can I just showed you what happened. I didn't had I known that I would be getting implants like 10, 15 years after that, I I would have been like more careful with everything I did, but I'm a ex drug addict, So, but getting back to the point, whatever you desire, have faith or spoken word into, you sit up there and you obsess over it. I pray over it. I've prayed over it so many times. And I really meant it. Just like I mean with you guys. Ask and it shall be given to you. I didn't know they said that. Wow. Seek and ye shall find. Well, I'm trying to look for God, you know, and find out who God's little soldiers are in between the realm, between the heavens and earth. That could have been a CIA. But so she ended up getting a rose tree. She told the woman, let's just call her Maria. She told Maria that she prayed for Maria to have a rose tree. They both prayed, I think, for it to be a no. She prayed that Maria get a rose tree, and the guy sent and mixed up lilies with the roses and sent the roses to Maria. When Maria said thank you for the lilies, she said, no, I prayed that you get no. When she said thank you for the roses, it was mixed up. I don't know. So Maria ended up getting um roses, I believe. How fear must be erased from the consciousness. You don't know what fear does. So it's inverted faith. Evil is inverted faith. Faith in evil instead of good. But then you ask yourself, I don't mean to keep bringing up the CIA, but the CIA sat up there and put out drugs willingly and unwillingly. So we don't know if There's fear in drugs that we either take or whatever to incorporate fear. Why worry? It will probably never happen. You hear how powerful that is? This woman is fire! Oh my God! Death and life are in the power of the tongue. And this is the good things about churches. This is the good things about churches. Because when you do put money in like those huge churches, I ain't talking about those small churches that don't have a real organization, but they're getting tithes. I'm talking about those huge organizations. You get a hold of one of those huge organizations, you can get they have a bigger organization where they make sure your prayers be answered. You have to go seek out your prayers to be answered and have faith. I know she said she wrote checks um as excited as she was, as excited as it permits. I'm like, I thought you were supposed to write to the people that you owed, and now you're writing checks to everybody. It's crazy. Okay. 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 So why worry? It will probably never happen. That's for fear, people that have fear. Why worry? It will probably never happen. You must act as if you already received. Basically, you must act as if you received already. You must put this program in motion. You know, if you want money, you must act as if you already received. Now, I'm not saying to go out there and if you have money saved up to buy something that costs $1,000. No, you prepare by mentally preparing for what you would do with the money when the money comes to you. Um, there's a divine design for each person. There's a divine design. There's a higher power for each person. This is a place where you are to feel and no one else can feel. You are to fulfill a purpose. Each and every one of us in the United States are here to fulfill a purpose, something different than the next. Even though we do similar things like work at McDonald's or whatever the case may be, we are here for something different. Something you are to do which no one else can do. We need a drug where we can move to a higher frequency awareness, a higher frequency awareness. And I think that day is going to come like in the next 10, maybe 20 years. But it has to be a legal drug because we don't need illegal drugs in our state. This is going to be something legal that doesn't give you euphoria like a narcotic does, but it enlightens your mind. So with that being said, y'all take care, be safe, and Plato said that. Just for y'all to know, Plato said that. For there is a divine design for each person. There is a place where you are to feel and no one else can feel. Something you are to do which no one else can do. Plato said that. If Plato said that, imagine what Socrates said.
Never waste my time, you are out.